Hi friends, welcome back or welcome if you're new here. My name is Stacy and I am the Chapter Conundrum, and in today's video I want to talk about my March TBR. So all the books I plan to read in the month of March. And in March I am participating in a readathon. I'm going to be doing the March Mavericks Readathon that you can find over in the Keymark Discord, so I will have that linked down below just in case you want to join. I have a feeling today may be the last day to sign up when you're seeing this, because I think you're going to be seeing this on the 28th of February. And I will put the prompts for that readathon up on the screen. I think there are 10 of them, but essentially the way this readathon works, if you're not a ringer, you only have to do 5 of the prompts. So you end up getting a point for every book you submit, up to 5. Then you also end up getting a point for every review that you do for these books, for another 5. And then there are 2 ways to earn a bonus point. One is to do the indie prompt, that will get you 1 point, and then the other is to finish all 5 of your books, that gets you a 2nd point. So essentially you max out at 12 points if you're not a ringer. So in previous rounds, Keymark readathons have been sci-fi fantasy only, but in this round they've extended it to any genre. However, the books still have to be over 200 pages, and they don't allow rereads for this. So I'm going to go ahead and aim for all 12 points. I may end up being a ringer if my reading month is going well and the other things I end up having to read can fit into prompts. But so far I've just planned for 5. And so obviously I want to max out my points and do the indie prompt. So the first prompt I'm going to tackle is Maverick, read an indie or self-pub book. And this actually worked out very serendipitously because our Thrill, Chill, or Kill book pick for the month of March is an indie horror, and that is Puzzle House by Duncan Ralston. So I haven't seen a ton of my friends read or review this, but I did hear someone talking about it on their channel ages ago, and I can't even remember who it was that initially got me interested in this. But the tagline is 6 puzzles, 6 ways to die. So obviously there's going to be some situation where they are trying to go through puzzles in this house. I think it is also related to some kind of inheritance thing. And given that this is marketed as a horror and not a thriller, you know not everyone's going to make it, and there's going to be some high stakes here. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out. The second Mavericks prompt I've decided to do is Disruptor, and that is a book with a weapon on the cover. And that also worked out perfectly for me because I haven't yet started Valor, the second book in Faithful and the Fallen. If you were following along with the Catch Up Book Club, the live show for this is going to, I think, be the 2nd Sunday in March. So I'll have about 2 weeks to try and get it done. I absolutely loved Malice. I gave that 5 stars, had the best time reading it with all my million theories, and I'm very excited to continue on with the series in Valor and just see where things go and see what payoff and answers I get and what new theories I get to develop. The third Mavericks prompt I decided to go for is Chaos, and that is a book that includes magic as part of the story. And for this, I'm going to be picking up Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the 2nd book in the Crimson Moth duology. I recently just read the first one, Heartless Hunter, in December, and actually have a dedicated reading blog for that. So I'll go ahead and link that in the cards for you guys. I had a really great time reading book 1, and I have a couple theories, and I'm just really interested to see where this goes. There's definitely some things introduced at the end of book 1 that are going to be adding some tension to the story in this installment. And yeah, I'm just really curious to see how it all wraps up, and hopefully I have a great time with it. The 4th prompt I decided to do is Skullduggery, a book that features political intrigue. And for this, I'm going to be continuing on with my buddy read of the David Bad trilogy with Pat Sava, and we're going to be picking up Kingdom of Copper. In City of Brass, you have 2 POVs, and one follows a lot more political intrigue than the other. And upon reread, that's definitely my favorite POV of the 2. So I'm definitely interested in discovering more of the political aspects of this series, and I've been having a good time with it so far. So definitely curious to keep going with it. And then the last Mavericks prompt I decided to tackle is Shadow, a book featuring an animal companion. And for this, I'm going to be picking up Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. So just last month, I finally gave into the hype, tried out Fourth Wing, and I liked it. I didn't love it the way a lot of people do, but I liked it enough to want to continue the series, and I'm intrigued to see where this goes. I definitely think I will be smart to binge this series before the internet is rife with spoilers for Onyx Storm, since I have been liking it so far, and I definitely enjoy that it's not a very dense series that I can just sink into and enjoy. Also, there are definitely some great dragon animal companions in this series so far. And I have a feeling that book 2 is going to unpack a little bit more of their personalities and their quirks. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading it for that reason, as well as some others. So the second half of my TBR, now that we've talked about all the books that I plan to read for the March Mavericks Readathon, is going to be all of the read-along books I had planned to read prior to this readathon. So the first of those is our fantasy read-along book on the Booktubers Discord, and in March that is going to be The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch, the third book in the Gentleman Bastards series. And from what I know, this typically isn't people's favorite in the series, but I kind of have a theory that I may have a hot take and end up finding that this becomes my favorite of the series just based on a few things that I've heard about it. One of the most interesting aspects of this world to me is the magic system, and I have heard that you do learn a bit more about it here, so I'm definitely looking forward to diving into that. We've already talked about our Thrill, Chill, or Kill book with the Mavericks TBR. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the John Mars read-along. And normally we would do one book a month, but in March we are doing 2 of them. The first one of those is The Vacation. And from what I know of this features 8 strangers at a hostel, and they are all running from something and keeping secrets. And definitely characters with secrets is a very interesting John Mars thing. And I always like reading about his books that have multiple characters with secrets. Some of my all-time favorites, like The Passengers, does this very well, so I'm very curious to check this one out. And the second John Mars book we will be reading this month is his brand new release that drops on March 4th. It's called You Killed Me First, and this is also another true standalone from what I can tell from early reviews. Nobody has mentioned that it has any ties to his other books or mentioned spoilers to it, and there are people I've read reviews from that say they've read all his books. So I had a feeling that if this was somehow tied to his other books, somebody would have mentioned it. But in any event, I haven't read like any of his kind of newer books, and so I'm really curious to dive into this one and just see how his writing has developed and grown since the books that I've read from him. And especially because the last 2 I've read have been like his first 2 books. So yeah, it'll just be interesting to kind of suss that out. But also the premise of this sounds really intriguing. It essentially starts with a woman waking up bound and gagged in a fire. And based on that, I need some answers. Like, who did this to her? Why did they do this to her? Why was she targeted for this? I need to raffo. And then the last read-along that I'm participating in March is a brand new one. So if you want in, now's the time. And that is going to be Green Rider by Kristen Britton. This is the first book in the Green Rider series. And Josefine over at Fina Reads and I decided we wanted to buddy read one book in this series a month leading up to the release of book 8, which comes out September 30th and will be our October book. So we're going to have channels for this on the Booktubers Discord, and if you have interest in this series, we would absolutely love if you want to join us. Books 1 through 3 will be rereads for me, but 4 onwards will be fresh. And from what I know, the series does get darker in book 4 onwards, so that will probably lean even more towards my taste. And I liked book 1, but I loved book 2 and 3. So knowing that the series goes in directions I typically like even more after I've already been loving the books has me really excited. Even from just what I've read in the first 3 books, I can definitely say that this series has some of my favorite animal companions and sentient objects, and I did videos on both my top 10 of those recently, so if you want to go check those out, go check those out. And if you don't know, this series follows the Green Riders, who are messengers of the king. And essentially, in book 1 here, we open with Kerrigan, our main character, and she's kind of had some issues at school, so she decides she's quitting. She's out of there. She's on her way home on the road when all of a sudden she is met by a Green Rider, but he is pierced by 2 black arrows, and he begs her on his deathbed to take up his mission and deliver a message to the king. And of course, she's like, oh yeah, this seems really important, like I need to do this. So she hops on the messenger's horse, and things go from there. I do have a feeling that I'm going to be able to catch on to a lot more foreshadowing on my reread of this, because I definitely know some more things about the world and the series as a whole for where I got to in the series, and I'm just looking forward to kind of like picking out those hints and seeing what I notice. So yeah, that was all the books I plan to read in the month of March. So life-wise in March, I feel like I will have a solid amount of reading time. I ended up having less in February than I anticipated, but a lot of that is just due to prepping for Battle of the Bands 5, which Jake and I are going to be hosting along with our returning captains Nala, Niko, and Ian in the month of April. So definitely look out for an announcement for that coming very soon. At this point, I have most of the prep and probably by the time you're seeing this, I'll have all the prep out of the way. The main thing that is going to eat into my reading time in March is that I have content plans for March and April, and I want to try and pre-film, pre-edit, and schedule as much as I can for April because I know I'm going to need the reading time that month. There is also one other exciting thing I have going on in March that may eat into some reading time. Jake and I have a little getaway planned. We're going to go a few hours away and spend a few days in a different area, and we're going to bring Ozzy and we'll do some hiking and just kind of chill out, have our own little getaway because it's our 1-year wedding anniversary on March 18th. So that will be tons of fun, and I'm not sure, we may curl up and do some reading while we're there, or we may end up not really reading at all, and either is fine. But yeah, we'll see as a whole how March shakes out in terms of how much reading time I end up having. Let me know down below in the comments, are you also participating in the March Mavericks Readathon or in any of the read-alongs or buddy reads that I mentioned? And if not, let me know what is on your March TBR that you're excited to check out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out if you want to, and have a great day. Bye!